Timothy, do we have to collect from Mr. Crowley? He's the meanest man in town.
I don't want to stop there either, Jonathan. Let's see if we have enough rummage already. Boy, I don't know who's gonna buy this.
What are you doing? Why have you got all that stuff? Hey, look at this old doll. Can I have it? Where'd you get this junk? I want this!
Put it back, Cindy. It took us a long time to collect this stuff. What are you doing here anyway? Why aren't you with Kathleen?
Kathleen and Maureen went to the movies. They wouldn't take me. I'll stay and help you.
Look, Cindy, we're awful busy. We have to collect a lot more rummage for the sale.
What's a rummage sale?
It's sort of like a big garage sale. We collect things from people who don't want them and sell them to people who do want them. It was the best way we could think of to help the Children's Hospital Fund.
Uncle Peter said we could use the attic of the old building behind the church to store the stuff.
Who are you going to ask next? Not Mr. Growley.
Why do you call him that? It's Mr. Crowley, Cindy.
I know, but he is awful growly.
Well, we're going to have to ask him anyway.
I guess you're right. Who's going to knock?
I will. I want to help the hospital fund too.
Okay. What are you going to say to him, Cindy?
I'll say, please, Mr. Growly.
Crowley!
Oh, please, Mr. Growly. Do you have some old things for our sale? It's to help sick children in the hospital.
That sounds great, Cindy.
And then I'll say, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
You kids get away from there. What do you want?
Please, Mr. Growly. Do you have some...
I don't have time for kids. Just get out of here. All I ask is to be left alone. And the name's Crowley.
You ruined it, Cindy. Why did you call him Mr. Growley?
It just slipped out. He's mean.
He probably wouldn't have given us anything anyway. Let's go see Granny. She'll give us something.
I hope it isn't some of her chocolate cake. Hey, Cindy, you go ask Granny for the rummage, and we'll watch the stuff. That way, we don't have to eat any of that cake.
Well, here's my favorite little lady. Are you helping the boys collect rummage on this beautiful afternoon? I've got some articles all ready for you. Why, Cindy, what's the matter, darling?
Why is he so mean, Granny? I even said please.
Who are you talking about, child?
Mr. Growly.
Crowley? Who's that? Oh, you mean Mr. Crowley. Well, now I reckon he does act growly at times, poor man. He's had a very sad life.
That doesn't mean he had to yell at me.
Now, don't let that discourage you. You were doing a good deed, darling, and good deeds bring good results sooner or later. There's some good in everybody, you know. So don't you give up on Hiram Crowley yet. He wasn't always this way.
What do you mean, Granny?
Well, he lost everything he loved. His wife died of pneumonia when his little girl Linda was just a baby.
He had a little girl? Where is she?
Well, she got pneumonia and died too, Cindy. We didn't have penicillin and the likes in those days. It was a bad year for Hiram. One calamity after another.
Poor Mr. Growly.
Well, now, how about some chocolate cake to cheer us up?
Well, thanks a lot, Granny, but the boys are waiting for me.
All right, dear. Well, you tell the boys I put the rummage in a box by the shed. And good luck with your sale.
here.
I'll bet some of it's been here for 100 years. Just look at these old hymn books.
Let me see.
You shouldn't grab, Cindy, and be careful with that. It's very fragile.
I know how to be careful. You always treat me like a baby. Hey, look what fell out of it.
It's some kind of a map.
It looks like a treasure map. See that X?
Let me see. I found it. What's the X for?
It marks where the treasure is, of course. There's always an X on treasure maps.
Oh, I want the treasure. Where is it?
We don't know that yet, Cindy. We have to decipher the map.
Decipher? What's that? You always use such big words.
Decipher means to figure it out, like a puzzle.
I can't make any sense of it. Can you? There's just 2 squares and a circle. The little square has an X in it, and there's another X next to the circle.
I know. Let's go get Brad. He's good at figuring out stuff like this.
It's my treasure, and I'm gonna buy a bicycle and 20 pair of shoes and 11 teen comic books and...
There's Brad. Brad, wait a minute. We want to ask you something.
I'm gonna buy 14 new dolls and a baby carriage and... Brad, look what I found! A treasure map! And we're gonna cipher it and...
Whoa there, hold your horses. Let me see this wonderful treasure map.
Here it is. Can you make it out?
Boy, it's old. It says, Dear Slim, Dan Dandy won $1,000 at fair. We'll jump them at crossroads, get the money and the horse. Signed, Lefty. Wow, what a weird treasure map.
Let me see that. That's not the map. The map's on the other side. This must be a note the robbers wrote.
I'll bet these guys, Slim and Lefty, stole the money from this other guy, Dan Dandy. Then they must have buried it. So that must be the treasure, $1,000.
See here on the map? Just 2 squares, 2 X's, and a circle, and a couple of dotted lines.
Squares might be buildings, and that circle could be a tree.
That doesn't help very much. There are hundreds of buildings and thousands of trees.
All we have to do is find a building with an X on it.
Oh, Cindy, just be quiet and let us figure this out. Now, we found the map here. So this building must be the square with the X on it.
Right on, Jonathan. Maybe this larger square next to it is the church.
Goody, goody! We're gonna find it, and I'm gonna buy a swing set. Maybe I'll buy a swing set for the children's hospital, too.
Now then, the other X must be the treasure, and it's near a tree.
Yeah, but what tree?
It's kind of a small circle, so it must be a small tree.
Maybe that dotted line between the X's is the number of footsteps from here to the tree and from the tree to the treasure.
Let's go try it and see if it works.
Wait for me!
Better take a shovel and let me know if you find it.
$48, $49, 50, 51, 52, 53. Oh, hello there, Mr. Wood. We're looking for a little tree, but I don't see any around here.
A little tree. Why are you looking for it?
We're looking for buried treasure, and I'm gonna buy...
Quiet, Cindy.
Buried treasure, eh? That rings a bell.
It's $100,000!
It's $1,000, Cindy. It was buried by two robbers, Slim and Lefty, and it's buried by a little tree. Brad says it must have been a long time ago.
I know where that little tree is.
Where?
Right here, talking to you.
You mean you?
I remember it as if it was yesterday. Time doesn't mean much to a tree, you know. But as an historian, I put it about 30 years ago, and I was a little tree then. It was in the middle of the night. I remember when these two men rode up on a horse. They had a box, and they dug a hole and buried it. Not very deep, though. They seemed to be in a hurry. They made a pact to meet back here in a year to dig it up, but they never came. Don't know what happened to them. So the treasure's still there.
How come you never told anybody, Mr. Wood?
Nobody ever asked me.
Well, I'm asking, where do they bury it?
Right about where you're standing, little lady.
Oh, boy, let's start digging. I'll be first.
No, Cindy. The ground's too hard. I'd better start. Right about here, Mr. Wood?
A little more to the right, Timothy. That's it. Shouldn't be more than a foot down.
That's about a foot, but there's nothing here.
Let's see. Now that I think about it, I believe it was a little more to the left.
Here, you take over.
Nope, there's nothing here.
Let me try now. I'm gonna dig here. Hey, I've hit something.
Let me see, Cindy.
The treasure! The treasure! Look, here's a picture of a horse's head and a circle on it.
That looks familiar. Now, where have I seen that before?
Never mind that. Let's open it. Gee, this can't be $1,000. But wait, it's in $100 bills. I've never seen one before. 8, 9, 10 of them. Hey, I just thought of something. We can't keep it, and we can't give any of it to the hospital fund because it doesn't belong to us.
It does too. We found it. Finders keepers.
Timothy's right. That money belongs to Dan Dandy.
But who is he? I never heard of any old Dan Dandy.
I don't believe I have either, Cindy. And I thought I knew everybody around here for the last 50 years.
Yeah, it was a real long time ago. We'll never find him.
Maybe not, but we've got to try. Let's go see Uncle Peter. He'll know what to do. Look, Uncle Peter, this is where we found the map.
It was in one of those old hymn books.
Fascinating story. Well, you certainly had an exciting adventure today.
But we have a problem, Uncle Peter.
What's that?
Well, the money belongs to Dan Dandy. But we don't know who Dan Dandy is. Do you have any idea?
I'm afraid I don't. But I'll check the church register just to be sure. I'll tell you what, why don't you kids check with Granny? She's been around a lot longer than I have. Or ask Hiram Crowley. He's an old-timer, too.
I think we'll skip him. He's already yelled at us once today.
Oh. Well, I understand he's had some bad times in his life. He's probably a very lonely man.
Because his little girl died. I bet he still misses her.
I'm sure he does, Cindy.
Come on, everybody. Let's start with Granny. I'll bet she'll know.
Of course she will. Granny knows everything. Except how to make chocolate cake.
Well, back back again, eh? How about a piece of that chocolate cake now?
Well, maybe just a small piece later. We don't want to spoil our dinner.
All right. Now tell me all about your day. Did you get lots of nice things for the hospital fund?
Let me tell! We found a map and we showed it to Brad. And then we went to the tree and we took a shovel. And then we dug one place and another place.
Slow up, Cindy.
Oh, goodness gracious. What's all this about? Maps and trees and shovels?
To put it in one sentence, Granny,
We found the treasure.
Lots and lots of money. Uncle Peter's guarding it for us now.
A treasure? Well, what on earth are you going to do with all that money?
Well, that's the problem, Granny. We were going to give some of it to the Children's Hospital Fund, but
it isn't ours.
It is too. Finders keepers. I don't care about old Dan Dandy.
Dan Dandy?
do you know him?
Uncle Peter never heard of him. See? This is the note we found on the other side of the map.
Dear Slim, Dan Dandy won $1,000 at fair. We'll jump them at the crossroads, get the money and the horse. Signed, Lefty. Dan Dandy. Dan Dandy. Why, of course.
You know him?
Well, I did. Everybody in town knew Dan Dandy. We all felt mighty bad when he was stolen.
Stolen?
Oh, yes. Dan Dandy was the greatest trotting horse in the whole state.
A horse. Dan Dandy was a horse.
Why, that's right. Hiram Crowley's pride and joy. The only thing he cared about after little Linda passed on. He entered Dan Dandy in the big race at the fair. And of course, old Dandy won, as we all knew he would.
The robbers must have known it too.
Poor Mr. Crowley. Everything gone.
Yes, he never was the same after that. He shut himself up in that lonely old house.
Now I remember where I saw that horse's head in a circle. You know, the one in the treasure box. It's the same as Mr. Crowley's door knocker.
Well, then I guess that means the money really belongs to Mr. Crowley.
But what about us? And the Children's Hospital Fund.
Why, Cindy, I thought you had other plans for all that money. What about your plane and your car
And your 11 comic books.
I'd like to have all those things, but there are lots of sick kids in the hospital. I think we ought to help them, too.
Maybe Mr. Crowley will give us a reward for returning the money. We can give that to the hospital.
I think you're doing the right thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if Hiram did give you a nice big reward.
We'd better go get the money from Uncle Peter and take it to Mr. Crowley right away.
So we can get the reward.
Okay, who's gonna knock?
Not me. I don't want to get yelled at again.
He won't yell at us, Cindy. He'll be so happy to get his money back. Anyway, he's expecting us.
What do you mean he's expecting us?
Uncle Peter called to tell him all about it.
Okay, I'll go. Uh-oh, here he comes now.
About time you got here. What took you so long?
But Mr. Crowley...
Don't waste time talking. Just give me the box.
Mr. Crowley, would you be interested in donating?
He forgot to give us a reward.
I don't think he plans to, Cindy. Let's go back to work. We still have the rummage sale.
But maybe he doesn't understand about the sick children.
I don't think he even cares. Let's go.
Oh, I'll bet he does too care. I bet he just doesn't know about the hospital fund. I'm gonna tell him. Mr. Crowley! Mr. Crowley!
What do you want now?
Mr. Crowley, I want to tell you something.
I told you kids to get out of here.
It's about the money.
What about the money?
The Children's Hospital Fund needs money to help sick kids. And I thought maybe...
That's my money, and I'm keeping it.
But Mr. Crowley...
For the last time, go away.
Mr. Crowley?
What is it?
I'm sorry about your little girl and Dan Dandy.
What do you know about my little girl?
I know she got sick and died. And that might happen to some other kids if the hospital can't get more money.
That hospital can't help my Linda.
But wouldn't you like to help other sick kids?
They're not my problem. Now run along, little girl.
Well, I tried.
How much do you think we can get for this old thing?
We'll be lucky if we get a nickel.
Oh, well, every little bit helps.
There's a friend of yours here to see you.
Who, Granny?
No.
Brad?
No.
Maureen?
No. I'll send him up.
I'll bet it's Miss Afghan. She said she had some stuff for our sale. Mr. Crowley!
I have something to say to you kids.
Yes, sir?
Is something wrong, Mr. Crowley?
Yes, something's been wrong for 30 years. And now I want to make it right. Is this where I make a donation to the hospital fund?
Do you mean it, Mr. Crowley?
I never say anything I don't mean, young fella.
Wow! The treasure!
Is it the whole $1,000?
That's right. This little lady here got me to thinking. Now, I couldn't help my own little girl, but I can help others like her.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Mr. Crowley.
Don't thank me. I'm doing it for Linda. By the way, bring your wagon over to my house. Now, I think I can find some rummage for you.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley.
Gee, Granny was right about Mr. Crowley. Who would have thought he'd ever do such a nice thing?
No.
That's right.
Yeah.